So hello everyone. Good afternoon, good evening to every one of you. Thanks so much for joining us today. I am Anuradha Sant, your host for today, and I will be taking you through some housekeeping as we begin. So I'd like to welcome you first to this webinar, which has been hosted by the Coaches for You community, which is a volunteer group which has come together from and comprises of all the ICF India coaches. This webinar presentation is going to last for 30 minutes and it will be followed by a 15-minute period for question answers. During the webinar, you are free to write in your questions and comments in the chat box, and you're requested to keep your mic and cameras and the videos off the entire presentation to prevent any bandwidth issues and disturbance to the presenter. I'll also request you, as you're coming in and situating yourself, to write in your name, where you're calling in from, and what is it that you do in the chat box. At the end of the webinar, we will also be asking you to fill a brief feedback form, which will help us get your inputs to better our services going forward. So for the topic for today's webinar is Tackle Anxiety, Exercise Your Choice. And to take us through this is our very experienced coach, Dr. Priyanka Tibrewala, who happens to be based in Mumbai too. Dr. Priyanka is a medical doctor, an MBA, an MBBS, and a 6-second certified EQ coach, and is also doing her ICF certification. We are all familiar with anxiety. So today let's know more about it and see how we could tackle it and how we could exercise our choice in this matter. I will now invite Dr. Priyanka to take over and help us explore this topic further. So over to you, Priyanka.
Thank you so much, Anuradha ji. I feel very privileged to be hosting a webinar on this platform. And I hope after 30 minutes, you feel that I've been doing justice to it. So let me start by sharing my screen. Okay, so I would like to welcome everybody to today's webinar. I'm Dr. Priyanka Tibrewala. The webinar for today is Tackle Anxiety, Exercise Your Choice. Tap into your inner strength. So to start off with, I would like to ask everybody to type in the chat box, what are some feelings that you are all experiencing these days? And what are some challenges that you're going through? It'll help us set the tone for the webinar today. Right? So I will give you a minute. Just type in the chat box, what are some feelings you're going through and some challenges that you are facing with COVID-19.
We invite you to write it in the chat box, please. Okay.
Right? Great. So Sonali has written, worried about the future, sleeplessness. What if you're not required anymore? Aruna has written, uncertainty, anxiety. Great. Thank you so much for sharing. So I'm sure that all of us will agree that we are going through a difficult period right now. We're going through a time which we've never experienced, at least in our lifetime. There are many, many different kinds of feelings which we are going through every day, morning to evening. We are in a state of emotional turmoil, not only as an individual, but as an entire society, as an entire planet. So these are some of the challenges that people all around the world are going through right now, including you and me. Many people are going through loss of income, insecurity of their job, and salary cuts. Elderly people really face loneliness right now. Mental stress is there on the rise for all of us. For many students, what they're saying is they don't know what the future is holding for them. What are the career options they have now? What is going to change in terms of, how is the workplace going to look like when things open up again? For students who are studying, there is an academic slowdown. There's a distance in the communication now. If you're working in sales, there is a huge pressure from global offices to push sales, to lay off subordinates, and to achieve certain targets. For women, no domestic help is available. So managing work from home, along with responsibilities of family and children, has already started to take a toll. What are the feelings that we are all going through? So I wanted to verbalize this so you can start to resonate with it and see, okay, yes, am I really going through this? Most of us would agree there is a certain sense of underlying anxiety in us, uncertainty about the future, and overwhelmed by all of the news that we keep receiving every minute. A sense of depression, will this ever end? Confusion about our future, a sense of vulnerability. We're living with people who we're not used to living with 24/7. There is a fear, what if me or my loved ones happen to contact this virus? We've started to feel drained out in this lockdown now, and there's a moral fatigue. Right? So now I'd like to introduce you to anxiety. Since all of these feelings are somehow related to anxiety, what is anxiety exactly? Anxiety is defined as uncertainty plus danger over perceived power. So it's basically when we feel that there is a lot of uncertainty, there is a threat, there is a danger, and we feel that we do not have a lot of power over the situation. So that is when anxiety starts to creep in our system. We can feel it in our bodies. We can feel it in our heart, in our stomach, in our head. Right? When we feel we don't have control over the situation, or we don't have much control or influence. When we feel that we don't know what is in the future for us, that is when we start to feel anxiety. So I'd like to introduce you to the first tool of today. If you have a paper and pen, you can do this exercise or do it mentally. This is called the circles of control. Draw these two circles. The inner circle is what is within your control in the current situation. And the outer circle is what you can influence, even though you cannot control it 100%. But yes, you do have a certain amount of influence on it. Everything else on the sheet is what you cannot control. So start to think about what are the challenges that you are facing right now. What about those challenges is within your control? What part of that challenge is within your control? What can you do about it? Make a few notes mentally or on paper. Think about this circle. What can you do that is within your control so that you're prepared to face that challenge? Then think about the things that you can influence. That yes, you do have a certain influence on them, maybe not controlled 100%, but you can influence that. Think about that aspect of your life. And now think about the things which you cannot control at all. If I were to give you an example, suppose I say, the number of corona cases which are rising in the United States, that's completely outside of my control. So I would put that in everything else. So similarly, the part of your challenge which you feel is completely out of your control, write that down in the white space all around the circles. Now let's think about human behavior and human nature. As humans, we are bound to feel in control of the situation. We like to feel that we can control something. As soon as we feel that, yes, we have control over a situation, we start to calm down. Our brain, our prefrontal cortex takes over. We can start to think rationally. We can start to find new solutions. So can we now start to focus our attention on the aspects of our lives which we can control and influence? What if we can spend at least 80% of our day, our thoughts and our feelings, thinking about what is it that is within my control, and what can I do to make a positive impact on that? How will that change everything for you? One thing I think all of us will agree to is that our inner strength is completely within our control. And in this time of COVID-19, we have realized how strong our inner strength can be, how resilient we are as individuals. Doctors who never thought that they would be able to survive in these circumstances are going like warriors and saving people, knowing the fact that they have a high possibility of catching that virus. But there's something within them that's motivating them to keep going. There's something within them that gives them that strength to overcome that fear and anxiety, right? That's the power of inner strength. When I've written powerless technology and powerful inner strength, it helps us to just reflect on what kind of an age we were living in. We were living in an age where we were driven by technology. As soon as we woke up in the morning, the first thing we did was check our social media. Before sleeping, the last thing we did was check our social media. Our whole day was kind of driven by automation and technology. Especially for the next generation, somewhere down the line, they didn't realize that they needed a lot of inner strength to survive in difficult times. And this time of COVID-19 has actually given us those days to just reflect on what were we doing and what do we really value, what is really important for us in our life. So before moving to the next slide, I want to leave you with this thought: feed your faith and starve your fear. Can we start thinking about what is it that is important for us? What is it that we can impact positively? What is it that we can control? The more that we feed that, the more we will feel that we have inner strength, the more we will feel in control of the situation, and we will calm down. Okay? So how can we feel in control? As we mentioned in the tool, focus on what you can control, leave what you cannot. So being a human, humans are wired to feel more relaxed when they connect with people. The more that we connect with people, the more feel-good hormones are released in our body. The more those hormones are released in our body, the more relaxed we feel. And the more relaxed we feel, the better our brain can start functioning. So how can we feel relaxed? How can we start connecting with people? These are some tips I want to share with you to start doing that. Self-care, especially since we do have a slightly higher luxury of time right now. Can we spend at least half an hour a day on self-care? We'll spend a little bit more time on this in the next slide. Positive impact, as I mentioned, where in your day can you make a positive impact on the life of not only yourself, but on somebody else? And how does that make you feel? Mindfulness practices, you must have seen this coming again and again on all of your social media and Instagram. Try to live in the present. Anxiety is not living in the present. Anxiety is thinking about either the past or the future. So if you want to tackle anxiety, as soon as you feel that you are drifting to the future, you're drifting to the fear of what will happen, what do I not know, fear of the unknown, bring your attention back to the present. Think about what is it in my right now, in my today, that I can positively impact. What can I do today that will help me prepare for tomorrow? So let me focus my efforts on that. Okay? Connection is the vitamin for mental health. Keep connected, stay connected. Yes, we are in a time of social distancing, but can we reframe that to physical distancing? Can we think about that as, yes, we cannot physically meet the other person, but can we still stay connected with them? Can we share our lives with somebody for at least 10 minutes a day? Trust and empathy have an inverse relationship with anxiety. The more that we trust people, the more that we share our lives, the more that we listen to their stories, the more balanced and in control do we feel. So make it a point that you do share your life with somebody for at least 10 minutes a day. Can you call up people who you haven't spoken to in years, but they are still a part of your life somewhere? Share your story with them, talk with them, share your worries, share your laughs, share the good parts, share the bad parts, just share. And you are going to notice a huge difference in your anxiety levels. Now, as I mentioned, I wanted to spend 2 minutes on self-care because I feel that's a very, very important part for all of us, whether we are a student, whether we are a working professional juggling our work from home and family, whether we are a mom trying to handle their kids. Self-care, do try to get this time for yourself. Journaling has been found to work really, really well in these days. And journaling doesn't only have to be to, vet out your anger. I want to share a quote with all of you that will help you start to think about, what do I want to journal about? Nature is giving us time to think differently, space to live differently, vision to see differently. Let's not waste this opportunity. Let's get wiser and choose differently. What do we want to choose differently? Are we happy with the life that we've been living? Is this what we had envisioned? Sometimes we feel when we look back at our life, as somewhere down the line, we kind of sidetracked. So this is actually a time where we can reflect on everything. And surprisingly, when there is the most uncertainty, we are actually able to make the most changes in our lives. We can change some patterns in our life in times of uncertainty. So is there any pattern in your life that you would like to change? Reflect upon it. Think about, what is it that I really wanted? What is it that's really important for me in my life? Am I living my life to my values? So spend some time thinking about that. When I say explore the artist in you, explore the creative side of yourself. And sleep peacefully. Many people, even some lady who mentioned in the chat, said that they are suffering from a sense of insomnia. So the best way to have a peaceful sleep is to disconnect yourself at least 30 minutes before sleep. Make sure you turn off your social media, your devices away from you at least 30 minutes before your sleep. So you spend those 30 minutes more relaxed, thinking about your day, thinking about what went well, thinking about the blessings that you have. Can you still think of something that's positive in your life? When there's no place to explore outside, then one place to visit is inside. So with this thought, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and share a short 3-minute video by Joshua Freeman, who's the CEO of 6 Seconds International.
People are feeling a lot of big feelings right now, and some of those are very difficult. And I think it's normal when we're in change to experience these challenging emotions. And it's also normal to say, oh, I don't want that. I want to push away this fear. I want to push away this anxiety. And yet, what should we be feeling? I mean, we're in the middle of this huge, unprecedented experience, and we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we're going to be safe. We don't know what's going to happen to our families and our communities and our businesses. And in that unknown circumstance, fear is the right feeling, and it's not the only feeling. I was on a call the other day with some members of the 6 Seconds community, and we were talking about how do you normally feel about change? And a lot of people said, normally I'm excited about change and I'm open to it. And I was looking at my son's water bottle that says, yay, adventure. Yay, adventure, yes, let's go. Why don't we have that feeling right now with the tremendous opportunity that's created by this pandemic? And the way our brains work is that we have this sensitivity to danger, which takes precedence. And when we're in the middle of a change and there's a threat or a perceived threat, we move into a fear reaction. And that fear reaction pushes us to withdraw, to step back, to protect, to take care of those immediately around us, to buy lots of toilet paper. But the solutions to complex problems are probably not going to be found in retreat. And this is what's so interesting about emotions. We don't just have one at a time. We might be feeling a tremendous amount of anxiety and uncertainty and fear and pessimism. And at the very same time, we're feeling commitment and love and hope. We're feeling this deep determination that we're going to find a way through. These feelings don't cancel each other out. When we're in times of change, we need to acknowledge the feelings as they are and also find the other feelings that can help us move forward. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is feeling that fear, knowing it might not work, knowing it's risky, and also tapping into these other feelings that allow us to step forward. And that's what we're going to need as we move through this change.
So I would like everybody to write a few words in the chat of what was something in this video that really caught your attention. Any insight you've received from the video, anything that you resonated with, what was that? So if you could jot down your thoughts in the chat box.
I request everybody to write their comments addressed to everyone so that we can all see it. Don't write your comments privately. I would request you to write them addressed to everyone. Thank you.
So we have a comment from somebody who says, courage to tackle fear. Change is a part of life. Great. So thank you so much. And I would still encourage everybody else to also jot down their thoughts as we continue. So for me, what really struck me in this video is courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acknowledging the fact that yes, there is fear, but still having something within us that keeps us going. And what is that? It's a choice we all have, right? So my question is, who can you choose to be in this time? Can you choose to be the person who is patient? Can you choose to be supportive? Can you choose to be resilient? Can you choose to be courageous? It's a choice, right? It's up to us. As soon as you make that choice, you're going to feel like you're much more in control of the situation. And what's interesting is that fear is actually telling us of the things that really matter to us, of the things that we really love and value. So it's a signal, and it's telling us that yes, this is what really matters to you. So do something to protect it, right? And a while back we were talking about, use this time to think about, am I really spending time on things that matter to me? And if not, do I want to make any changes in my life? So what feelings would we require now to move ahead with courage? What do we want to look forward to? It all depends on how we interpret a situation. I really love this quote, so I added it here. Life inflicts the same setbacks and tragedies on the optimist as on the pessimist, but the optimist weathers them better. So what is the perspective with which you are looking at this situation right now? As Joshua mentioned, there's tremendous opportunity, even now. So can we see those opportunities? Can we see those areas where we can make those positive impacts, where we can affect somebody's life, where we can contribute to somebody's life? Can we see those areas where we can prepare for our future? If required, where we can upskill ourselves? Do we have that opportunity right now to focus on those skills which would help us prepare for the future? How are we looking at the situation? The minute you change that lens, it's much easier for you to feel mentally balanced and mentally strong. So what negative self-talk are you doing right now? What are you telling yourself every morning? Are you looking forward to the day, or are you dragging it? You know, I'm sure when all of you were young, you've seen this glass of water and your teacher must have asked you, is this glass half full or half empty? So, what is the answer for you? When you're looking at your life right now, when you're looking at the situation right now, where are you focusing? Are you focusing on that water which is there, or are you focusing on the air above it? When I'm talking about water, are you focusing on what is in my control? What can I do right now? What is it that can motivate me to keep going? What can I look forward to each morning when I wake up? How do I choose an opportunity in this time? The more that you start to focus on the inner circle, the water, the opportunity, the more you feel in control of the situation. And your anxiety automatically starts to drift away. So, since we are talking about optimism, I want to end the presentation with some takeaways, right? So, the first takeaway would definitely be count your blessings. Is there still something in your day where you feel grateful for? What do you still think is good about your life? Can you write those down? Can you look at it every morning? Are there people in and around you, in your community, in your society, that may have greater needs than yourself? Is there something you can do to contribute to those people? What negative self talk are you doing? Are you telling yourself that I don't know if I'll get hired once the lockdown is over? Are you telling yourself, I don't know how I'll sustain my family if my job gets laid off? Can you challenge those thoughts and think about what can you do now to prepare yourself for the uncertainties, for the things which might come up unexpected in your life? What can you do right now? So focus on what's happening now. As soon as you find yourself drifting to the future, to the fear, to the anxiety, bring your attention back to the present. Remind yourself, what do I value? What really matters to me? Use this time to think about this. As I mentioned, the greatest changes happen in times of greatest uncertainty. So it's actually the time to reflect and change patterns in your life if you wish to. And engage in creative activities, because the more your brain is relaxed, the more solutions the brain can create. So I invite you now to the connection challenge. As I had mentioned, connection is the vitamin for mental health in today's time. So instead of social distancing, let's start to think about the next few months as physical distancing. And let's start connecting with someone every day, sharing our lives with somebody every day. You know, we can do about a 5 to 10 minute phone call and really genuinely connect with them, empathize with them, establish trust. As soon as these hormones start to filter in your body, you're going to feel that anxiety is drifting away. Okay? So with this, I would like to end the webinar and I would leave it open for the questions now.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. So if there are any questions, any comments, any reflections that you have, you may please share them in the chat box. And if there's anything that you want to say, you want to kind of mention that in the chat box and you want to speak to Priyanka directly, let me know so that we could have her answer your queries. And Priyanka, I'll also read out to you some of the other comments people had after looking at the video.
Sure.
There was Vibhuti who said that it's change is a part of life. I think Manoj's comment you read earlier, that courage to tackle fear. Deepti mentioned to be positive, opportunities will be there in the future. Alpa said, loved the tag, yay adventure. It is a great attitude to adapt. And Vicky said the last sentence was very powerful, that courage is not lack of fear. Very powerful indeed.
Yeah, beautiful comments. I feel that if we can all just remember this, it will really help us tide through these difficult times.
So any questions, comments? Anyone wants to say anything or ask Priyanka anything? As you're thinking of that, I would like to launch the feedback poll, which you all can answer as you're thinking of your questions. So Vicky mentioned, in the now there is no fear. Read somewhere, fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing as real.
Yeah. And, as I mentioned in anxiety means when we make things very big and very bad, and we make ourselves very small in that situation where we don't feel we have power over the situation. That's when anxiety starts to really creep up. So I think it really resonates with what he mentioned as to fear as an acronym for false evidence appearing as real.
So as you think of more questions and comments for Priyanka, I'm also launching the feedback poll. It will just take you about 5 to 10 seconds to answer these questions. And please feel free to do that because they really, really help us get your inputs and become better as we go forward. Nikita, can I request you to mute your mic, please? Thank you. Can we all answer the poll, please? Thank you. I really appreciate your inputs. And as we are doing that, I would also invite each one of you to log into our website, which is www.coachesforyou.in. I will attach it to the comment box shortly. There you could go and register for all our future webinars under the events tab. Our next webinar is now going to be on the 12th of May at 4 p.m. and it talks about whether life is fair or not. We will not be having any Coaches for You webinars in the week of 4th of May, as it is the International Coaching Week, and we may have other programs planned for this via the different India ICF chapters. So in the interim, you can visit our Coaches for You website, see exciting resources like articles and blogs, register for free coaching sessions with our experienced coaches. And if you're a coach, you can also volunteer your services there. And there are a lot more offerings coming your way, so stay tuned. So I'd like to invite you, if there are any questions anybody wants to ask Priyanka, I could even unmute you and you could go ahead and speak to her and ask your questions. Aisha has asked, can you expand on the circles of control a little bit, please? So Priyanka, would you like to attempt that?
Sure. So Aisha, if you can unmute yourself, so then we can go through that.
So is there anything particular, Aisha, that you would like to ask about the circle of control?
I would just like to know, like, is this something that you use often? Like, when can I use this more in my everyday life?
So Aisha, thank you for the question. Whenever you feel that there is a challenge or you're starting to feel anxious about a situation, you can actually draw these circles and you can break up that challenge into these three parts. So what part of this challenge is under my control? What can I do about it? What part of the challenge is under my circle of influence? So where my efforts will influence the outcome, but maybe not directly impact it. And what part of the challenge is not in my control? Once you break it up, it helps you see the situation in a much easy to do kind of a manner. So where then you can start focusing your efforts on the whatever is inside the circles. The more that you focus your efforts on what's inside the circle, the more you feel like you are in control of the situation, you have some impact on the situation, and the less anxious you feel about it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Also, I guess the trick is that more and more things that you could have within your control gets you more under control, and the more and more things that you get from controlling and influencing and feeling of helplessness will automatically come down.
Yes.
Will that be correct to say, Priyanka?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Any other questions? Any other comments for Priyanka, or are we good to close the session today? All right. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Priyanka, for this lovely session today. And thanks so much the audience for being with us and participating and supporting us. We look forward to having you with us in the next webinar, which is on 12th of May. Till that time, you could look at the recordings of the previous webinars. If you've missed any, you could look at our articles, and you can look at the other services from Coaches for You. Also attend a free coaching session for yourself. So stay tuned, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anuradha, and thank you to all the participants who've joined me today. I wish you all the best.
Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes.
Bye-bye.